Welcome to The Explainer, where we break down big ideas into clear, dynamic presentations. You know that feeling at work, right? Being pulled in a million different directions at once? Well, today we're going to explore a pretty radical new idea. What if all those tensions aren't actually a weakness? What if they're the key to unlocking a way more powerful way of working? So, let's just dive right in. Picture this. You're in a super high-stakes meeting, and the big question on the table boils down to a simple yes or no. This is exactly the kind of either-or thinking that, let's be honest, defines so much of our work life. But what if framing the problem that way is actually the biggest mistake we're making? So this explainer, which is based on Deloitte's 2025 Global Human Capital Trends report, reveals this whole new playbook for success. And it's one that isn't about choosing either or. No, it's about finding the incredible power of both and. It's about learning to embrace those opposing ideas to find a much more powerful way forward. The modern workplace it's defined by a series of these tensions that are constantly pulling us in opposite directions. It's this daily tug of war we all feel, these invisible forces that shape literally every decision we make. So let's break them down. Okay, so what's really interesting here is you can see these core conflicts laid out: agility versus stability, potential versus predictability, empowerment versus control. For years, the message has been crystal clear: pick a lane, stick to it. But what if that's just the wrong approach entirely? In today's world, choosing one over the other, well, that's pretty much a recipe for falling behind. And this quote from Nikki Rose at Telstra just hits the nail on the head. Both can be true at the same time. The crucial point here is to find balance, right? It's about making choices without always having the certainty of knowing exactly how they'll turn out. It's about embracing that gray area. Okay, let's move on to our first major paradigm shift and see how this all builds. And it starts with how we think about work itself. To really master these tensions, we have to rethink something super fundamental. What does it actually mean to be productive? Because for way too long, we've been trapped in this cult of busy. And believe me, it is holding us back. I mean, just think about your own workday for a second. Does this number surprise you? 41%. A staggering 41% of the time workers report spending is on tasks that don't add any real value. That's busy work. That means our most valuable resource, our human capacity, is just being completely drained. So to reclaim that capacity, we need to totally reframe how we think about slack. And no, we're not talking about laziness or inefficiency. We're talking about slack as a critical resource that creates flexibility, absorbs shocks, and gives us the space we desperately need for innovation, for well-being, and for resilience. And this rock climbing analogy just illustrates the strategic value of slack so brilliantly. Think about it. The climber needs freedom to move and adapt, right? Well, the slack in the rope gives them that flexibility. And if they fall, that same slack absorbs the force and keeps them safe. It's the safety line that allows for agility and prevents burnout. This is really all about shifting our focus from outputs, just being busy, to actual outcomes. Great Britain's Olympic rowing team is a fantastic example. They came up with one simple question they asked about everything they did: will it make the boat go faster? If the answer was no, they just cut it out. Done. That's the kind of focus we're talking about. Now, this shift toward outcomes, it really requires a totally new way of looking at our people, not as some uniform group of cogs in a machine, but as unique individuals. We have to move toward hyper-personalization. Just consider Jane and Ellen here. They have the same job, same demographics, probably the same title, but what gets them out of bed in the morning is completely different. Jane is motivated by success, recognition, money. Ellen? She's all about purpose, solving tough problems, and work-life balance. So why on earth would a one-size-fits-all approach ever work for them? It just wouldn't. And this whole idea raises a really crucial question about development in this new personalized world. So who's actually responsible for building a worker's experience and skills? And what the data shows is a fundamental disconnect. Look at this. Workers feel that they are primarily responsible for their own growth. They put themselves at number one. But executives? They think the company is number one. You see the problem? It's a huge roadblock. All right, now let's look at the biggest technological shift of them all: AI. And this requires us to move way beyond seeing it as just another tool. We have to start thinking of it as a collaborator, our new teammate. The common narrative around AI often hides its silent impacts. We hear it'll reduce our workload, but for 77% of employees, it's actually increased it. We hear it'll make work easier, but when it automates all the routine tasks, what's left for us? Only the harder, more complex stuff. And that can lead to a lot of stress and even a loss of learning opportunities, especially for those in entry-level jobs. So the crucial point here is that integrating AI requires asking much, much deeper questions about its effect on our people and our culture. How are we going to cultivate uniquely human skills like judgment? When AI disrupts entry-level work, how do we give people the chance to gain experience? This isn't just an IT project. It's a massive leadership challenge. Okay, so what does this all mean for leaders? We've got a workforce that needs more slack, a huge demand for hyper-personalization, and AI as a new teammate. It requires a completely new playbook. The old command and control style, it's just obsolete. So in this new world, what is the reinvented role of a manager? Because the old role of command and control, it's a relic. Managers just aren't supervisors anymore. That approach doesn't just fail, it actively gets in the way of performance. Instead, managers now have to become three things. First, a people developer, fostering judgment and coaching people based on their unique motivations. Second, a work architect, redesigning how work gets done for effective human-machine collaboration. And third, a strategic connector, empowering their teams by connecting them to people, resources, and the bigger picture across the whole organization. Ultimately, it really boils down to this. As McLaren's Formula One team puts it, human performance equals car performance. And that's a fundamental competitive differentiator. Investing in your people, it's not a soft skill. It's a direct driver of high performance, period. And that brings us to our final thought. Navigating the future of work isn't about asking or. It's about having the courage to find the and. It's about embracing that complexity to unlock human potential. So as you think about all this, ask yourself, instead of asking or, where can you find the and?